Hey, I'm here with the episode review of Switch to Birth. It was episode 12 and it was the first episode back since they took a break. We are on season 3. The title of this was Love Amongst the Ruins or Love Among the Ruins. All right, before we get started, I just want to put a big disclaimer out there. I am a huge Bay and Emmett fan. I ship them. I love them. They are perfect for each other. I was so upset when they broke up and just all of the ups and downs they've been through. And I'm just really hoping that they are finally going to get back together. But just off of how this first episode went, I know that we still got a long way to go before Bay and Emmett have their happily ever after. Just a little bit about where we left off. The big major storylines or cliffhangers were Bay and Emmett ended up sleeping together outside in a park. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this, but I'm so happy they're together. It was like romantic, but still like, oh my goodness. It was right after Emmett got beat up by Matthew when he found out that Matthew was actually catfishing him, pretending to be a girl named Mandy. And Babe was the one who actually figured it out and tried to warn him. And this is the reason that this was bad is because, the reason that Bay and Emmett sleeping together was bad is because apparently Bay was still with Tank. Now, everyone felt like Bay cheated on Tank. But to me, I didn't even know Bay and Tank were still really together. I mean, the last scene with them, he got mad at her and jumped out the car and kind of left things kind of out in the open. But they are taking a route that she was still with Tank and definitely did cheat on him. Then there was the Regina storyline. She was working with Wes to do the renovations in their town. I can't think of their neighborhood, but the people in the neighborhood found out that Wes was giving them bad deals because Regina found out and she told somebody. And people just really don't want this guy coming in and I guess remaking the town, and they feel like it's pushing them out. So they threw a brick in Regina's window and kind of threatened her like, get out, stay out of East Riverside. That's what it is, stay out of East Riverside. Toby is gone because Toby, after his wife decided that she wanted to stay doing mission trips, he ran off and went to Switzerland or somewhere. It'll get to me. I can't remember, but it wasn't Switzerland. But Toby ran off and he is currently off on vacation trying to discover himself after, his marriage has come to an end. All right, now to this episode. It starts off like exactly where the one left off. Bay is just getting back home from her and Emmett being together, and she tells Daphne, oh my gosh, we slept together and we didn't use any protection, and I need you to take me to go get the morning after pill. And Daphne is like, what were you thinking? And oh my goodness, and Meg's like, I'll tell you more. And then of course John, their father comes in, oh, I just heard you girls talking, and they, rush off and go to bed. The next day we see Emmett. He's beat up, still hat on, trying to go to school, and his mom is like, what happened? He lies. He tells her that something happened with him on the bike, and she's like, well, how'd you get on the bike? He'd rather lie and say, well, no, he did actually hotwire his car. He didn't lie, but he didn't tell her why, but he goes, I hotwired the car. And she's like, oh, is this still because of that girl Mandy? And he's like, oh, me and Mandy are over. And just basically him lying to his mom, not wanting anybody to know about what Matthew did to him. Regina, also kind of in the same situation as Emmett, not wanting people to know, she tells Daphne, don't tell anybody what happened with the window, let me do it. And what she ends up doing is kind of just telling a watered down story, leaving out the part of the note on the brick of telling her to leave East Riverside. Daphne, in an attempt to find out who did it, like, I don't even understand, like, I always have so many problems with Daphne, but I just did not, this was like a really big one. I don't understand why Daphne feels like it was her responsibility to find out who threw the brick in the window. Sometimes these kids, they're kids, even they're teenagers, they still act like they're so grown. Like, I really don't think this was Daphne's place. But she goes to one of her old friends in East Riverside during lunch and says, hey, can you at least find some information out about who did this? My mom quit. She's not even working for Wes anymore. And the girl is like, okay, I'll get some information for you. Well, when Daphne and Bay are having lunch, and Bay is pretty much telling Daphne about how her and Emmett ended up being together and how her and Tank never really clicked on that level, her friend Monica comes in and is like, oh, Daphne, I found out I don't know who actually threw the brick, but I know that it was ordered by Nacho. Nacho, we got the impression that he's probably some kind of gang leader, big dangerous presence in East Riverside. Then Bay is upset because Bay is like, whoa, Daphne, why didn't you tell me? And Daphne's like, look, you had your problems of your own. And I kind of understand. Like, Bay got a little bit upset, like, oh, that's my mom too. How come you didn't tell me what was going on? But I mean, she really did have her own situation with having to go get the morning after pill and drama. Speaking of Bay and drama, Emmett sees Bay at school and he's like, hey, I've been looking all over for you. Have you been avoiding me? What's going on? And, Bay is kind of like dumps on him. She's like, hey, what we did was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And you should, of all people, should know basically that she shouldn't have done that to Tank, and that she needs to right the situation by breaking up with Tank before that they can actually continue on with their relationship. And Emmett just had a rough time this whole episode. Like, I just feel so sorry. Like, he felt like all he had was Bay, and then Bay comes to him and is like, oh, kind of almost bringing bad news to him that it's not going to be as easily as he thought of them back together. And this happened right after him and Matthew had a confrontation. He tried to just make peace with Matthew, but this Matthew kid, he's crazy. In fact, Emmett tells him, he's like, you're crazy. I don't understand this revenge he needs to get. His thing with, oh, I wanted the hearing kids out of the school, and he thought that the slashing the tires was really going to work. And he's just really mad at Emmett for turning him in and turning against him. But this revenge is wrong. And it looks like they're really going to take this whole cyberbullying with the catfishing and everything. They're going to go and run with this story. I just really hope that, just throughout the episode, I just saw how low Emmett was. I just really hope that they don't go the route of him wanting to commit suicide or considering it. But it might be where it's going because, a lot of suicides have been committed in the past few years because of cyberbullying. And I kind of see maybe they might, hopefully they don't take it to that extent, but they're definitely running with this cyberbullying story. Throughout the episode, Matthew, he's just doing numerous things to bully Emmett. He posts posters of the different text conversations that Emmett had with Mandy and posts them all around the school. And, people are seeing them, and Emmett is just really embarrassed. And his mom, she sees them and she's like, what happened? I saw these texts. Was that Mandy? Was there ever a Mandy? And, he finally tells her it was Matthew. And she's like, we need to. And he was like, so at the expense of my, my pride, is he going to have to get humiliated in order to do what's right and turn Matthew in? And, they just kind of have a heart moment. I really love his mom, Melody. She's a very strong woman. And she's raising her son by herself, even though Emmett's dad is involved. It's still, I just really understand where she's coming from, and she just really wants the best for him. Bay is supposed to break up with Tank and doesn't. At the end of the last episode before the break, Tank depledged his fraternity, and he actually talked to, I can't think of her name right now, so I won't even touch on it, but basically he depledged his fraternity. When Bay tries to come break up with him, he's like, I did it. And he kept kind of saying, she kept trying to get him not to say he did it for her, but he's like, I know how much it meant for you. I know what all this meant for you. And so basically Bay just felt really bad and didn't break up with him. When she tells Emmett this, he's upset. He's like, whatever, I gotta go. And, this is just more that's just contributing to Emmett just feeling so, down and low. Back to Regina. At Regina's birthday dinner that Catherine cooked for her, it just basically comes out that she's been lying via Bay telling them that, oh, what about the note and the blackmail? And everybody's like, what? And so it all just comes out. And then Catherine and John, like, it kind of like it kind of like a weird spin. Like, and one time I hate how they always act like they're so much better than Regina, and like they're her parents, and like they have to give her a talking to, and she always has to explain everything to them. Like, I really just hate how they always have that above her, always like, reprimanding her. But this time it wasn't really. They kind of like encouraged her, but still acting like parents and telling her to go get her job back. And if you really are passionate about this project, don't let, some little bullying thugs prevent you from doing it. And she kind of takes what they have and is like, okay, I'm going to go get my job back. What she doesn't know is that Bay and Daphne decide to go talk to Nacho, the gangster guy who put out, the hit on Regina. And basically, Bay hustles them in pool and brings it out that, hey, Daphne leaves it open for Daphne to say, leave my mom alone. And this time it was actually a go Daphne, because he's, cause, oh, your mom's nothing this and but a sellout and a whore. And Bay's about to, and Daphne goes, oh, no, I can handle this. And she just dug into him and was like, no, you leave my mom alone. And I was like, Daphne, go. Because, sometimes, like, when they first got in there, she was kind of like, like always like a deer in the headlights, when Bay was like, oh, let's hustle them on the pool and stuff. So go, Daphne. But I'm pretty sure this is going to cause more trouble because, she gets home and she finds out that her mom got her job back. And she goes to Angelo. She went to Angelo twice this episode, and I like that they're developing a relationship. Even at the end of that, she tells Angelo that, she wants him to learn sign language so they can communicate better. And I just love Angelo. Like, I feel like he's a really good guy. Like, I felt like in the beginning he got, like, the bad end because he left, but can you blame him for leaving when he got the DNA test and it said Daphne wasn't his? He could only come to one conclusion, that Regina had cheated on him. So anyways, she asked, after finding out that her mom did go back to Wes and get her job back, she decides to go to Angelo and have him move in with them. And so it was kind of like, that was like the last scene, all three of them, Daphne and Angelo cooking, and then Regina comes and gives him a kiss. And it was just nice to see them together as a family unit, because you usually don't see those three together. Like, we've seen Bay, Angelo, and Regina together, but to see Daphne and them, I thought that was really nice. So the last few scenes with Bay and Emmett, or involving Bay and Emmett, were his mom, Melody, just, she tells him, we have to go and tell. So she goes to the principal, and while she's in there talking to the principal, Matthew comes to Emmett and shows him a picture. We don't get to see the picture. And Emmett's like, I thought you deleted it. And he goes, no, Mandy said she deleted it. And he's like, maybe you need to think twice about, ratting me out. So when they get in the principal's office, he's like, oh, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, and makes his mom look like a fool. And basically, that's it. He doesn't tell on him. And his mom comes out there and she's like, what is this? What are you doing? And he's like, just drop it. You don't understand. And I'm like, my guess is maybe it was like some kind of like nude picture. Maybe, took a picture and sent it. But I guess we'll probably figure out what the picture was. But so Emmett's like, whatever, drop it. And he walks off. And then Melody, she goes up to Matthew and she like, you're not going to get away with this. He's like, what? And then she snatches his ass up. She was like, leave my son alone. And I was like, yes, you go, girl. But I mean, it was inappropriate. She shouldn't have snatched him up. He's a minor. And so, yeah, now she's suspended from her job for her, snatching him up in school. So we'll see where that goes. I hope she doesn't lose her job over this. And Emmett's going to have to say what happened, because I got a feeling that this is only going to get worse. At the very end of the episode, Bay is sitting there looking at pictures and different memorabilia of her and Emmett, and then she goes and meets him, and she basically tells him that what they did the other night wasn't a mistake, and they're gonna work it out. They belong together. She wants him, And, he was telling her about how everything is a mess with Matthew and now his mom suspended from the job and, just really low. And so I was so happy that Bay reached out to him, because right now Bay is the only thing that he has going positive, or should be going positive, in his life. And so, they ended on a good note. They hugged, they kissed, and she's like, we're going to figure this out. There's a lot of things that we're going to try to pull us apart, but I'm not gonna let it. But for me, I just know, like, this is gonna be it's still a long road. It's still gonna be very bumpy for Bay and Emmett, but I hope that they can get it together. I wonder if they're gonna try to bring Ty back. Hopefully not this season. Just let Bay and Emmett work this out and give us just the end of this season, and we worry about that kind of drama next season. But so, for the previews of what's to come, it looks like Regina is probably going to get attacked, or at least there was like some guy out there in a parking lot and her trying to rush and get back in, and her trying to call 911. There's something that's going to be posted on the internet or something, because Bay and Emmett are like, oh my gosh. So, and then Daphne is trying to make friends with the guy, I can't think of his name, but her little love interest from earlier in the season, the guy who got injured or paralyzed from sporting accident. So I don't know if I don't know. I mean, he was kind of a player. I didn't really like those two together. I thought that she should have been with, I think it was it Jorge, the guy working in the hospital? I thought those two would have been a better couple, but maybe he was still a little too old for her. So yeah, that's like the season, but it looks like next episode is going to have a lot more action and it'll be a little bit more exciting. So I'm really excited. But I mean, I still say it was a good episode. Bay and Emmett, like any episode with Bay and Emmett is a good episode. So that is the end of this review. Let me know what you guys think of the episode. Where do you think this season is going to go? Tell me if you ship Bay and Emmett, or are you team Bay and Tank? All right, guys, bye.